So for those of you that don't know about RedBox, we've been around about 25 years now in the call recording market. So we're going to go through some of the reasons to record and the motivations for it, PCI, what it is, how it affects call recording and your options around that. So what we can do to help you become PCI compliant there, what our offering is, and quality management. So I know you guys said that you were playing around with a bit of quality management in terms of agent evaluation and assessment. So we're going to go through that and the benefits of it, and then as part of the demonstration I'll show you the quality management piece and the PCI and how it works. So if you have any questions, then feel free to shout and ask us as we go. So in terms of the reasons and motivations for call recording, it tends to be similar across all businesses. So the first one for us is security risk and public safety. So RedBox are pleased to say that we've sort of got around about 48% of the blue light and emergency services market. So we look after that market in terms of their call recording, things that they do in terms of event reconstruction. If there's an incident, we can reconstruct everything that was happening on screens, on the IP telephony, digital telephony, radios, and all of those kind of things. So that's the first reason that we record. The second one is, so that you guys might be familiar with, is for compliance reasons. So things like financial services regulations, trading, those kind of things, and PCI compliancy. So taking credit card transactions over the phone and making sure that you're not keeping those details as part of the call recording. And mobile recording as well. So for some of our traders who are trading on mobiles, for example, we need to make sure that we're capturing that on the mobile and including SMS on that as well. Thirdly, customer satisfaction. So in terms of dispute resolution, so we're in a culture now where there's blame, there's a claim, people ring in with disputes, they want to complain, you want to go back over the call recording and see who said what and when, what you might have committed to, all of those kind of things. So that's one of the other reasons. And for training needs, so part of what we do is we work with contact centres and we help them with evaluating the calls that their agents have made. So making sure that they've read any compliance statements, for example, that need to be made, and just checking that they're going through all of the things they need to on a call, and then working with the agents to go through their training plans and do one-to-ones and cover off their calls and what's been evaluated. And also business optimisation. So as part of what we do, we have an analytics package as well. So we can look at things like keywords that have been said or haven't been said even. So if somebody didn't say the word goodbye, hung the phone up, you can look for calls that perhaps have got that element in them and search for those. So keywords and trends, we've got travel agents using it to spot destinations that are trending, how many calls they've taken on Gibraltar or Greece, for example. So we can build that in as well and grow business that way. So in terms of us and our application is called Quantify. It's the same product across all market sectors. So what we see in the police force is exactly what you guys will see in any implementations that you have. Our interface is browser based. So you can access it on your laptop from anywhere over the internet. And when I do my demonstration earlier, I'll be accessing a recorder that's in the cloud in Nottingham. So I'll access that one. It shows all the call details. It's pretty easy to use. It takes around 10 to 15 minutes to train somebody on how to search and replay a call. And that's deliberate. We don't want people spending hours in a classroom just to try and find one call that they might need. So we have that. We have our own proprietary media playback tool. So it's a RedBox media tool, again, which we'll show you as part of the demo. And we have lots of other additional modules as well, so to enhance your business. So we have the search and replay, as you'd expect, to be able to look for calls. That's standard to what we do, of course. But also the ability to live monitor your agents. So as a supervisor, you may want to listen into your agents live, see what they're saying on the call, and monitor what's going on. And again, you can do that from anywhere, so over the internet. So you might have to be working from home and be able to listen into your contact centre agents. Quality management, which we'll go through in a bit more detail. Screen recording, so we can capture what's going on agents' desktops, and we can use triggers for that. So see if somebody opens up a specific web page, MSN chat, something like that, we can trigger screen recording. PCI, which again we'll go through in more detail. The event reconstruction piece, which is for the police and emergency services market typically, to reconstruct what was going on in an event room. We also do call management, so call logging, part of our portfolio. We partner with Mine CTI for that element. The audio analytics piece, and also mobile phone recording. So we've seen quite a growth in mobile phone recording over the last few months, particularly with the FSA changing some regulations last year. So that's now commonplace for us as well. And we're seeing that in different sectors. So typically it was in financial services, but we're also seeing that spread into the health market, for example, where anybody who might be giving out of hours advice over the phone, and that needs to be captured, then we can capture that for them as well. And that all goes back into the same interface, and so we can capture SMS as well. So what is PCI DSS regulations? So the 5 founders of it are listed up there. They all got together and came up with an industry tool and measurement to make sure that credit card transactions were being handled safely, responsibly, and to reduce fraud. There's been a number of instances where people have been keeping credit card details and fraudulent activities occurred. From your perspective, you're going to get some customer trust and confidence. They need to be happy that you don't keep those details on your system anywhere. Monitoring of threats are delivered through this standard, so that's all monitored by the 5 founders to give you all better protection in the customers as well. And the negative consequences of not being PCI compliant are that you could get caught with a lawsuit. They have auditors that go around and can fine you quite heavily if don't cry, it's not that bad. Well, hopefully I'm not that bad. Insurance claims, cancelled accounts, so bad customer reputation and things like that. So what do you need to be PC compliant? So it really depends on the brands that you process, and there's a number of criteria. So depending on the number of transactions you do, will depend on the type of PCI compliance that you need to do, so the type of process that you go through. Some of them are self-assessment, where you can go through and self-assess yourself and submit. Other times they'll have auditors come around on a regular basis and work with you. So you as individual businesses will know where you sit in that chart and where you need to be in terms of PCI compliance. But we can help with any one of those. So this is our media player. Some of you, if you've got RedBox, will have seen this before. And we have 2 channels here. So we record in stereo and we play back in stereo, and you can mute one side of the call. We have the option to, during a credit card transaction, suppress the call, so insert silence into it. So you'll see here between 1 and 2, there's a credit card transaction that's being taken, and we've just inserted silence into the call. And we have 2 options for that really. Total, so anybody who listens back to that call would hear silence, and you can skip through that. Or user, so if you were an administrator of the system, then you might have access to hear that information if you needed to do so. So we can work with you and we can set either or of those in terms of what you need to do as a business. We can suppress a call multiple times. So for example, when you ring British Gas and you want to pay your gas and electricity over the phone, you can't do it all in one transaction. They have to reboot the system again. So we can suppress that call multiple times, and using multiple different payment systems as well.
What is it that triggers the suppression?
So we've got either manual suppression, where you can have an agent using a desktop application to manually trigger it, or we can use automatic triggers. So if you're using a payment system, for example, we'll look for a Windows tile change or URL to trigger the system to stop recording. And when you've closed that payment browser window, it will start recording again. So on the manual ones, we have options for the agent to start the recording again, or if you know that typically your credit card transactions take 30 seconds, for example, we can set it so that after 30 seconds it starts to record again. So it will automatically time back in. So we normally work with our customers and look to see what they're doing in terms of transacting payments, and then look to see that whether or not you've got the automatic triggers and whether or not we can do that for you.
Clearly that's the most important thing, is to look at each individual customer, the applications you're using, the sort of workflow process. You're talking there about clicking buttons and popping payment screens. So, what is the steps that people actually need to go through? Is it looking at field completion? Because the last thing you want to do is to if you're having timers set against it, is people are maybe slow on actually conducting that transaction, and you're still going to pick information up on a recording. I take it, clearly one of the flip sides of it is there's a couple of forms of recording that we're providing to customers, right? So one is telephone recording, and clearly the other one is the screen-based capture as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just a case of turning off the audio stream, it's also clearly very important to turn off the screen capture. But it is very much a case of sitting down, as with all technology implementation, it's only going to work effectively if you're looking at how people are using the technology, and then looking at that process flow and building it to suit your own needs.
And clearly some people don't like the manual process, because any agent knows that during that time when they start and stop it, they can say whatever they like to a customer and it won't be captured. So any savvy agent is going to realise potentially that they can do that. So there needs to be some training around that from your perspective as well. So that just covers the options, so for manual and automatic. We also have the screen recording, as was just said, and we also have a toolkit. So we do offer all of our customers the ability to use our API to integrate with, for example, CRM systems. We're also doing work with people like Prairie Fire so that we can integrate to what they're doing in the future. So there's lots of options as a customer in terms of what works best for you. We have a development team in Nottingham that can help you with the toolkit stuff as well if you need to, and you've got something more bespoke that you need to do. So we've kind of covered this verbally, but this is the PCI, the agent piece, where you've got the desktop application. You'll be able to see as an agent when you're recording, and when you hit the suppression button, you'll get the line of no audio through the call, and you'll be able to see that it says suppressing, and then you'll be able to restart it again. And again, we have that automatic timeout. So PCI screen, we can trigger suppression based on what's happening on the screen. So we know that when you're taking credit card payments, obviously you don't want that captured, and we'll suppress that part of it as well, as Jonathan said. And we can define those rules. So every customer is different. We work with many contact centres. There's many different payment systems out there. We'll work with you to make sure that we meet your customer needs. We've got outsourced contact centres, and they use multiple different payment systems for all of their different customers. So for them, we have quite complex rules set around, what the triggers are and how many triggers they can have. There's no limit to the number of payment systems that we can work with on one system. And the key bit to this is there's no agent intervention on this. This is automatic. So the next part is quality monitoring, so the agent evaluation piece. So some of you guys are working with it. Are you using spreadsheets at the moment to do that? Is it quite a manual process?
No, we've got RedBox.
Oh, you've got the RedBox quality management piece.
Yeah, we're using that, yeah.
And is it working well?
Well, we've only had it installed in June, so we're still
learning.
We're still learning, but
I think this week our team managers started using them. Imogen is doing some few evaluations actually.
Yeah.
But I don't she's pretty comfortable.
Sure. The idea really is to kind of automate the processes that you had. So if you were using spreadsheets before, or you are now, we can hopefully make life easier and give your contact centre supervisors back time to do their day job rather than trying to find the calls that meet their criteria for evaluation. So our product will go away and it will cherry pick those calls and it will deliver them to you as a supervisor to start working through the evaluation. So if you're looking for calls that are 10% of agent X, Y, Z, and they're longer than 5 minutes, shorter than 7, we can deliver those calls to you and then you can work through them and evaluate them. It allows you to then measure the agent's performance across all of their calls, so you get kind of a balanced view as to how they're doing. We can set different templates to score against for different teams, and again there's no limit to the number of templates that we can put into our system and work through, and you can customise those. We can work from 0 to 5, yes, no, non-applicable, and so on. So hopefully you'll agree, the evaluation forms are pretty easy to design. We train you as part of what we do to build those up and customise them to what's important to you. We can schedule the evaluations to be delivered to supervisors, link all of the screen recordings, anything that goes with that call will come up as part of the evaluation. So if there is a screen recording attached, when you start to play it back, you'll see what was going on screen as well. It's real time in terms of what we deliver back.
Well, again, that's really useful. If you're looking at the actual application that people are using, it's really great to be able to play the two things back together and actually see if you've got a training issue, if you've got an issue maybe that the software application that people are using isn't very intuitive, it's not maybe some design changes that are needed. These are the things that you actually get back by playing those two streams together.
Yeah, absolutely. And it plays back not as snapshots of what was going on, but as a complete continuous movie. So it makes it easy to see what was going on.
When you're scheduling calls, can you ask for keywords? Somebody use keywords things in the calls that have those keywords in, so you can.
In the analytics package, yes, certainly you can do all of that, and you can search for calls that have got that word in. We have got a new level of software coming out shortly, and that will, as part of the search and replay interface, allow you to search for keywords rather than buying the full analytics package. So our new software level will certainly allow you to look for keywords in a standard search and replay, and you'll be able to evaluate that call from that screen there. So, yeah. So this is the standard screen, the screen that everybody sees when they log in to do search and replay for calls. And this is the bit where I said it takes about 10 minutes to train a user on how to search for a call. And we can search for anything that we know about the call. So time, date, duration, extension details, agent ID if we have it. We can search on all of that information. And the screen that we're on now is we've got lots of buttons across the top here, but it's denoted by the button that we've got on the left here. So this is the replay screen. We can save searches, so you'll see here I've got a number of saved searches. If I wanted to do a brand new one, I could do an untitled search, and I can, for example, search on the last 10 minutes, the last hour, if I wish, things like that. So I'm going to search for, just for ease, on a PCI call. We can change the date in here as well. So if I wanted a specific date and time, I can do that in there. And then literally hit the start button. And it should bring back all of those calls that are related. So I know that I suppressed a call at around about 11:08 and I made some notes against it. So that's it there. So the little red arrow shows that I've previously replayed the call, and the little marker, the pencil, and it shows that it's got some annotation against it. So to listen to that call, double click it, and this brings up the RedBox media player. So this is our own proprietary media player, and I'll just let that buffer through. And this is our recorder in Nottingham, so I'm connected over the internet via the browser back to our recorder. So when this call was recording earlier, I manually suppressed it. So you can see here, this is the part where I suppressed the call manually, as if I was taking a credit card transaction. So if I play that call there, it will just have silence. And and that's what you'll see in a PCI transaction. So in terms of the media player itself, we've got the option here to play around with the volume, suppress any silence, so I can skip through that part of the call if I wish, or if there were multiple periods of silence, we can jump through them, and we can boost the audio as well if the quality isn't great or it needs a bit of balancing. As I said earlier, we record in stereo, so we play back in stereo. So when we're playing the call, skip through the silence, I can mute one side of the call. So at the moment I'm just muting, I'm at the bottom one, so that's got more audio. If people were talking over each other, it would make life easier for picking up the details of the call. As you'd expect, to make life easier, we can speed it up and we can slow it down. And the RedBox recorder's got pitch control in it, so even when you speed it up, you should be able to still hear it as you would audibly. So we've got some contact centre supervisors who evaluate calls and listen to calls on such a regular basis that they don't want to listen to them at normal speed. They speed them up and it adjusts the pitch so that it's easy for them to listen to. 100 is the optimum. So we can put loops into the call as well, and just play that bit over and over. We'll just loop back. And we've also got the option to skip back to the beginning, rewind, fast forward, and skip to the end. Everything we do within our interface is tracked, it's auditable. Heaven forbid one of these calls end up on YouTube. If somebody had the permissions to export it as a WAV file, you would know where it came from and who'd exported it as a WAV file. So providing you've got the permissions to do that, we can export it. But when you do export it as a WAV file, any of the settings that you've changed, so replay speed, things like that, are transferred with it as well into that call. And this is one of the things that people add here is the speaking clock. So we can add the speaking clock to the audio if you wish as an extra layer of authentication when you're sending the call out. And when we transfer as a WAV file, we send it as 2 files. So one file will have the audio and then there'll be another attachment that's got any notes that might have been made against the call as well.
Is it just one file, or can you export it as a compressed audio file?
It's just WAV at the moment. I can check to see if there's any changes to plans to change that. So I can take that away for you.
But it's stored on disk in a sort of encrypted proprietary format, is it?
It's a proprietary format that RedBox use, so depending on how you decide to archive would depend on where it's stored. So if you didn't have an external archive, a SAN or a NAS or removable media that you wanted to put the calls onto, it would record to the recorder itself. And then when your disk space is full up, it just starts to eat its tail effectively and overwrite it. Yeah, we can set, if you have an archive, we can set retention policies so that if, for example, you had a sales team and a support team and you needed to keep calls for different volumes of time, we can do that. So sales might be a month and support 2 months. So you can set it so that after 1 month and 1 day, those calls are freed up and overwritten and so on. So we have the option.
And this player here, what does that rely on any technologies within Windows? You know, like Java or?
No. We do need to put a certificate onto the machines just so that they have access to replay it. But yeah, we could walk you through all that. It's fairly straightforward. It's just a normal Windows machine. We support Windows Vista, Firefox, and IE.
Okay. And so it's a completely standalone app that can just go onto a Windows machine?
This is just a browser, yeah.
Yeah.
This is browsing over the internet, so it's just an IP address. So the thing that's most important, which makes our calls court admissible, is this 16-digit hash here. So when you're looking to check that a call hasn't been tampered with, these 2 signatures should match. This proves that because they're identical, it's secure, it's encrypted, it's held within the recorder and nobody's tampered with it. So when we go to court with the police, for example, they'll log into the recorder via the internet and they can prove that from there. And then they normally give a copy of the WAV file to kind of court personnel as well if they wish. So I've got the permissions to export, so I can export here as a WAV file, and this is where I tick to take all the replay settings with me, so speed and those kind of things. We also have the option to add notes. So earlier on when I was suppressing the call, I made a note of suppress against the call so that I could find it again. And that's just been populated there. But we've got 6 customisable notes fields which you can use against call recordings, and then you can search on those as well. So this is the grid view that it brings back. We also have a timeline view. So some of our contact centres that we work with use this as a visual representation of what's going on in their contact centre as well. So they'll know that their average call handling time, maybe say 70 seconds. So they can look for anomalies within that and just pick up a call and double click it and replay it from here. Also useful if an agent comes to you and says, I took a call at around 10 o'clock, can you find it? And then you can just look for that extension and replay the call from there. So rather than having to do a complete search, you can just look on the timeline view. So this is all standard. The other thing that you get is live monitoring. So as I mentioned earlier, you can monitor your agents over the internet. And these are the agents in the support queue. So when Mike goes on the phone, I can start listening to his call. Denise is currently on the phone. And when Mike goes on the phone, this is our manual workstation client application. So for manual PCI suppression, this is typically what you'd see. This has been customised, so you can see Mike's on the phone now. It says recording, and I can start suppressing the call if I'm taking a credit card payment by pressing that button.
Do the agents get alerted to the fact they're being monitored?
If it's automatic, then they won't know that workstation client is working on their machine. They'll just have a little icon down on their tray at the bottom there. In this instance, yes, they would, because they'd have to manually start stopping it in terms of PCI. But as a general rule, if you're just recording your agents, they don't need to know that they're being recorded.
We automatically record them anyway, but I was just thinking if we introduced live monitoring,
they wouldn't know that you're listening to their call, no. There's no way to intrude or give an audible beep or anything like that. It's literally, you're just acquiring it and they wouldn't know. We can annotate the call from here as well. So this is where I typed in suppress earlier and it popped up in my notes field. And we've set up some annotation fields here. So some of our customers will use this. They'll have automatic triggering. They might want to use this to make notes against a call. So if they deal with, I don't know, 3 specific customers, or in this case sales, escalations and refunds, they can just click that button and it will tag it in that queue for when you're searching for like calls that you want to evaluate around refunds, for example. So we can do that there. I'll wait for one of them to go on the phone and then I'll pick the call up. Typically they're just going on the phone now, aren't they? Live demo.
Lunch starts early at RedBox, Gill.
Does it? Yeah. Nobody's ringing in with any support calls, you see. So that's
I wouldn't expect it.
That's the good thing. Right. And we've got this set up in different departments. So as a supervisor, you can have access to just your own team, specific individuals, and we can customise that for you. It's in a layered approach. The other thing that we use this screen for is agents quite often like to have access to their own calls, so maybe their last 10 calls for wrap-up reasons. Let me go this way. So this will like acquire it at the bottom. There might be a slight delay because it's got buffer across the network, but yeah, so instead of bothering the supervisor for wrap-up reasons, getting them to find a call so they can get the details out of it, they can look at their last 10 calls and do that for themselves if you wish them to have the access to that. And you can see that I've paused this call, so the same way that I can with any calls that are on the database, on the archive, I can pause it and then resume it. So the Event Reconstruct button is the button at the top where if you were looking for an emergency services type incident, you would see that. So probably most of you guys won't have a need for that and won't see that toggle at the top. The one thing that RedBox customers that have got it currently probably haven't seen is this new IQ page. So for the administrators amongst you, people that are looking at the recorder, we obviously have S&MP alerts, but we can visually look at what's going on the recorder. So because it's on the screen, there's the one hiding underneath because it's changed the output. But I can look at alarms, I can look at my archiving, I can see who's logged in, how busy the recorder is. I can set it up to tell me when my storage area is getting full, when I'm at my license capacity. All of those kind of things can be represented visually on this IQ widget. And if you're managing multiple recorders, you would have different tabs at the top, so you could just flick through them and have a look and see what's going on the recorders. So that might be useful for some of you that have got RedBox currently and need to have a look at this. Configuration is all pretty straightforward and standard. Everything is within here. So rather than walk you through all of the configuration, needless to say, we would train you on this. It takes about an hour and a half to train you on how to configure the system, change the licensing, etc. if you want to. Call management, call logging piece is an additional module. As I said earlier, we can do the call logging piece, so that will give you stats around traffic and analysis and all of those things that are going on your switch. And the quality management piece is in here. So as a supervisor, it's just opening up my schedule. It's going away and it's going to cherry pick all the calls that I've put in for it to search for on those parameters. To be able to evaluate a call, I just have to log off our VPN. We have 2 demos, so I'll dart into the other one. Let me just change this to the other one. Do a search. Call to evaluate. So in order to evaluate a call, just one call from here, I can click a call and go into the evaluate button. As a supervisor, when I click the button in a minute, it will take me in and it will give me a whole list, and I can highlight all of those and work through them call by call as well. So this will automatically bring up the call recording that I've clicked on to evaluate. And if there was a screen recording associated with that as well, it would bring back the screen recording to go with that. So here I can put in any comments, I can select it's an evaluation for whichever agent. In this case it's Mike. I can select a template that I want to use and then I can start the evaluation.
Live demo.
Frozen.
That thing at the bottom might be a clue.
Yeah, but it doesn't normally freeze the whole screen when you get an ML.
So our BT link has been up and down the last couple of days, Gill. I apologise. It surprised me if it's not.
So can I blame you?
Yeah. It surprised me.
You can blame Steve.
And BT.
And he can blame BT.
Completely. I've got the wordy thing.
Yeah, it's the blue circle of weight.
Not responding.
Shows how much we all rely on IT these days, doesn't it?
Wouldn't be a live demo, would it, if something didn't go well? Let's try again.
So all the features you talked about there, they're available out of the box.
There's different modules, so the search and replay and live monitoring is standard, Pci Suppression is an additional module, and QN is an additional module. So because not everybody needs that, I don't want to give everybody overkill, so we can customise a recorder according to what people need really. The IQ stuff's out of the box as well, the widgets and that you saw up there in terms of the alarms.
Is it possible to get the base product and then add on as
Absolutely.
exchange?
Yeah, so you can start with just a standard recorder, and then if you want to change the way it's set up in the future, then you can do that, it's not a problem. Let's try that again. So this is one of the templates that we've set up just for evaluation purposes and for demonstration. But here we can work through. We've got the option here to add bookmarks, text and information, attachments if needs be for this question. So as I work through it, if I notice that an agent needs some help in terms of their introduction, hopefully not in stating their name, but we can add templates to that to tell them how to do that. And when they log in as an agent, they will see that document's been added to their evaluation and they can work through it. And then as a supervisor, you can see when they've started working through any kind of coaching material that you've allocated to them. So interpretation, some of our customers use outsource evaluations. So when they log in, this is what we're looking for in terms of this is what we want you to look for and how we want you to interpret the question when you're scoring it. And then from here, we can work through yes, no, how polite they were. We've got non-applicable. We also have what we call kill questions. So I might have scored 100% on everything else, but if the agent doesn't read the compliance statement and I put no in, it will zero the whole evaluation for them. So because that might be critical to you as a business and making sure that they get that message across. So in this case, I'll put in yes.
Can you tailor the questions?
Absolutely, and you can have multiple templates. You can have as many templates as you like in the system, and you can just select from the drop down which template is relevant to the scoring that you're trying to do and which team it is.
Can you can zero their score? Can you actually just take a percentage off, or does it always just zero?
In that case, it would zero it down to nothing.
Just say something that's not totally critical, but is very important. You can say take 10%.
Yeah, we can't take percentages off, so it would zero it out. So this is just looking at the list of evaluations. So Mike, I've just evaluated. You can see here that these are the evaluations that he's had done in the past. I can double click on these and go back into any of them, open the evaluation and have a look and see what was done.
Can you listen to the call from there?
Yeah, absolutely. So the call is automatically brought back in. When you start the evaluation, it automatically starts the audio, and we've done that through customer feedback. So they wanted to automatically start playing the call back and then pause it if they need to. So as soon as you double click on an evaluation and go back into it, it will bring the audio back in for you as well.
Is that as long as it's within that 30-day period that you've still got the call, or does this save it somewhere else?
The QM evaluation and the audio are saved together, so if it's been archived off somewhere else, then it will keep it all together and it will bring that back. So you might have different retention policies for those calls that, for example, you're evaluating. So, and on the main screen as well, within search and replay, you can now search on evaluations and evaluators. So if you want to look for a list of evaluations that have been done and find those calls, you can do that as well now. So that's something that's just been released.
Is it possible to annotate the call, note the call, so for example, say the agent was doing there, but they can annotate bits where they thought they'd done well that didn't fit within the compliance, or likewise from the manager where they can annotate bits they want on the call?
So yeah, there's the option to add comments under each question for the supervisor. They can go through and do that. The agent, when they go back in, has the option to add notes here, so we can do that as well. Normally what happens is the agent will log back in, they'll see what notes have been made, any coaching is done, and they tend to go through stuff like that in a one-to-one with their supervisors. But there's nothing to stop you going back in and then re-evaluating the call with the agent and changing it as well. So you can up it if you have a conversation and decide that actually they've got some relevant points. And we can run reports from here as well. So we can run reports to look at agents and their performance. We can export the data that we hold as well out. So if you want to run your own kind of reports, we can do that. But there's some reports that are within here that you can use to track. So training needs, some of the standard ones, evaluations for all agents. Select the category. So in here, if there was different teams, you would select that. Put your dates in here and then run the reports, and that would bring that up for you as bar graphs as well as data showing how many evaluations have been done and what their scores were. You can pit the agents against each other so that they can see who's performing best within the contact centre.
Can you export that? Can you export out?
You can export the data out, yeah, and save the reports.
Can you report on what your supervisors are doing for you?
Yeah, so we can run reports on the evaluators here, so their productivity would be one of them, so we can see how many evaluations they've done, etc. And again, put the evaluators against each other, make sure that they're doing the correct amount of calls that they're meant to be evaluating. And all of our templates are designed in here, so if we look at this template here, we can go through call opening, etc., etc. And this is where we would decide if they had an auto fail, for example. And then we can duplicate the template if we want to save starting it again when we start it for a different team, and then just tweak it. So this tab here is where, as a supervisor, I just logged in and it's gone away and it's cherry picked all of these calls, so I can highlight all of these calls and start to evaluate them in order rather than having to go away and find the calls that I need. And again, I can export them all to WAV from here as well, so you can do a bulk dump out to WAV or CSV file. The other thing to show you is our support centre. So you've got quite an extensive support centre. If you have any issues, questions, queries, generally you can find the answer in here. So if you're getting an error message, it will give you all of the error messages that you're likely to see, any fixes that there might be, and so on. So we find that that's really useful for our customers, and this has just been redesigned. So this is a new interface, and again, if you've already got RedBox, it might look slightly different to what you've currently seen.
So if a customer's already got RedBox, what's the upgrade process to newer levels then?
It's just to work with yourselves in terms of professional services. We'll go in. There's normally a couple of hours downtime to upgrade to the latest level, so you need to make sure that you factor in that. And then we'll take you to the latest level of software. Providing you've got a support contract and you're current, then the latest level of software is free of charge. So it's just a matter of the professional services.
Sure. All question.
It is indeed. Yeah, we like to think that once you're a RedBox customer, you'll always be a RedBox customer, and therefore, providing you're currently maintained and supported via Britannic, then we'll
and only Britannic, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll make sure that you have access to all the latest levels of software free of charge. So any new features get rolled into the newer levels, so you'll get to take advantage of those as they come out as well.
And how frequent are the releases?
We have a major software release generally once a year. So, and the things that have come out, for example, in this level of software is the IQ, and in the next level of software it will be the ability to search and replay on words within the core search and replay interface. So, taking audio analytics and making it more user-friendly for the average contact centre, really. So people tend to see audio analytics as quite high end at the moment, so it's kind of taking it back to basics a little bit.
How much do licenses cost?
That's a question for Jonathan.
And then,
Right.
then that's a question for guys such as Richard, who's a walking price book.
Yeah, licenses are, you can add on in increments of one. So if you need one more user, you buy one more user, and you can work with your partner to get the additional licenses that you need, and they can give you advice as well on archiving and things like that, so bolt-on modules and so on.
My clients find it generally, with the pricing model where it's set, it's actually quite easy from the point of view if you're managing scalability. So if you're looking in an area to start or deploy, taking the RedBox recording code, say just from the contact centre, you want to put it in, say, credit control. Whereas you want to support telesales, those types of areas, it's quite easy with the cost model to budget that in and have that sitting in budgets for growth side. So it is an easy pricing model to work.